100 forgotten architectural wonders you've never seen in history books. In the shadow of every monument, every pyramid, every temple, every cathedral that fills your history textbooks there, exists a parallel universe of architectural marvels that have been systematically forgotten, deliberately erased, or simply lost to the silence of time. These are not minor footnotes. These are structures that once rivaled or surpassed the 7 wonders of the ancient world. They are palaces that housed emperors, temples that drew millions of pilgrims, fortresses that held back entire armies, and cities carved from living rock that have vanished so completely. Even their names have been swallowed by the earth, and yet you will find almost none of them in your history books. This is not an accident. This is the story of the architectural wonders that history chose to forget. Deep beneath the streets of modern Athens, buried under coffee shops and parking garages, lie sections of walls that once protected one of humanity's greatest civilizations. The Themistoclean Wall, built in the 5th century before the Common Era, extended 4 miles, connecting Athens to its port at Piraeus in an unbroken chain of fortification. These walls witnessed the golden age of Greece, the rise of democracy, the birth of philosophy. And today, they exist only in fragments, hidden in basements, incorporated into the foundations of new buildings, invisible to the tourists who walk directly over them. Researchers estimate that more than 90% of these ancient defenses were destroyed in the 20th century alone, demolished to make way for modern construction, their stones carried off, their history paved over with asphalt. This is the pattern that repeats across human civilization. Not preservation, but obliteration. Consider the porcelain tower of Nanjing, once celebrated as one of the 7 wonders of the medieval world. Commissioned by the Ming Emperor Yongle in 1412, it took 17 years to construct, rising 259 feet into the Chinese sky. Its octagonal base measured nearly 100 feet in diameter. But here's what made it truly extraordinary. Its walls were constructed entirely from white porcelain bricks that gleamed in the sunlight and seemed to glow under the moon. Travelers from across Asia made pilgrimages just to witness its splendor, to touch its smooth ceramic surface, to climb its spiraling stairs and look out over the ancient capital. Buddhist imagery and inscriptions covered every surface, each tile a work of art, each level a masterpiece of engineering that seemed to defy gravity itself. Then came 1856. Rebels fighting the Qing dynasty needed building materials and saw only a target. They systematically dismantled the tower, brick by precious brick, until nothing remained but stories and a few scattered fragments in museums. Imagine that. A structure that took nearly 2 decades to build, that stood for more than 4 centuries, reduced to rubble in months. And most people alive today have never even heard its name. But at least we know what destroyed the porcelain tower. For some of history's forgotten wonders, we don't even have that certainty. In the 6th century, enormous Buddha statues were carved directly into the sandstone cliffs of Bami, Afghanistan, along the ancient Silk Road. The taller statue stood 180 feet, high, taller than the Statue of Liberty from heel to torch. For 14 centuries, these Buddhas gazed out over the valley, welcoming traders, pilgrims, and travelers. Countless monasteries flourished in their shadow. Then, in 2001, the Taliban declared them symbols of oppression and systematically demolished them with explosives and artillery fire. The international community watched in horror as bulldozers and dynamite erased 2 of the most significant examples of Buddhist art and Gandharan sculpture from existence. Today, only empty niches remain in the cliff face, like wounds that will never heal. But here's what will haunt you. These destructions, the porcelain tower, the Bamiyan Bodhisat, least occurred in recorded history. We know who destroyed them and why, but what about the thousands of architectural wonders that disappeared so thoroughly that we've lost even the knowledge of their destruction? What about the cities that simply vanished, leaving behind only rumors and legends? Take Thonasirakhalaya, once Egypt's greatest port city, the gateway through which all goods flowing in and out of the Nile Delta had to pass. Ancient texts mentioned it constantly a thriving metropolis of trade, culture, and power. Then, around 800 CE, every reference to the city simply stopped. It disappeared from written records so completely that historians began to doubt it had ever existed at all. They theorized it was a myth, an exaggeration, perhaps several cities confused into one, until 2000. That's when divers discovered it, perfectly preserved, at the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea. 16-foot stone statues still stood upright on the seafloor. Bridges connected buildings. Temples remained structurally intact. The city hadn't been destroyed, it had simply slid into the ocean, possibly during a catastrophic combination of earthquakes and floods, taking its population and its entire history with it. For 12 centuries, one of the ancient world's most important cities lay undiscovered, forgotten, erased from human memory so completely that its very existence was doubted. Now ask yourself, how many other cities, how many other architectural marvels lie waiting to be read? How many have been lost so completely that we don't even have legends about them? The pattern of destruction becomes even more chilling when you realize it wasn't always accidental. Sometimes, the erasure was deliberate, systematic, calculated. During World War I, medieval architecture became a weapon of psychological warfare. The University Library at Louvain in Belgium housed irreplaceable medieval manuscripts and incunabula dating back 500 years. In August 1914, German forces set it on fire, deliberately destroying not just the building but the collective memory it contained. After the war, Belgium painstakingly rebuilt the library in the Flemish style. Then came World War II. In 1940, German forces invaded Louvain again and destroyed the library a second time. The same building, the same deliberate cultural annihilation, twice in one generation. Think about what that means. There were medieval manuscripts in that library, unique documents that existed nowhere else on Earth, that survived the Black Death, survived religious wars, survived the French Revolution, only to be deliberately burned by 20th century armies. The knowledge they contained, the perspectives of medieval scholars, the administrative records of medieval cities, the personal correspondence of historical figures, all gone forever. And Louvain was not unique. During the same war, Reims Cathedral in France became a deliberate target. This 13th century Gothic masterpiece, where French kings had been crowned for centuries, was subjected to sustained artillery bombardment. The Germans established positions specifically to destroy it. Why? Because destroying a nation's architectural heritage destroys its sense of identity, its connection to its past, its understanding of who it is. Architecture isn't just about buildings. It's about memory, culture, continuity. Destroy the buildings, and you destroy the culture itself. The deliberate destruction continued through the 20th century and into our own time. In 2015, ISIS militants captured the ancient city of Palmyra in Syria. They didn't just occupy it, they systematically demolished it. The Temple of Bel, consecrated in the 1st century to the Mesopotamian god Bel, was reduced to rubble. Palmyra had stood for 2,000 years, surviving the rise and fall of Roman power, weathering countless invasions and occupations, only to be deliberately obliterated in the 21st century. Satellite images captured the moment of destruction. One frame showing the temple intact, the next showing only dust and debris. But war is only one method of destruction. Sometimes, the erasure comes from within, from the very people who should be protecting these wonders. In Manila, the Philippines possessed one of the most extensive collections of Spanish colonial architecture in the world. The city was a living museum of Baroque churches, colonial mansions, and medieval fortifications. Then came World War II. American bombing to liberate the city from Japanese occupation destroyed 90% of the historical structures. After the war, instead of rebuilding them, the city embraced modernist architecture. Within a generation, Manila's unique architectural heritage was gone, replaced by concrete and steel. Only 2 buildings from before the war remain intact in the business district today. The rest exists only in photographs and memories. Or consider the Al Madina Souk in Aleppo, Syria, the largest covered historic market in the world. For 7 centuries, its winding market stalls had been the heart of the city, a labyrinth of commerce and culture where traders from across the Middle East and Asia converged. Then, in 2012, it became a battleground between opposing forces in the Syrian civil war. Artillery shells and fire consumed most of the ancient structure. What took centuries to build was destroyed in days. Even when architectural wonders survive war and deliberation, they face an even more insidious threat: simple neglect in progress. The Vanderbilt Mansion on Fifth Avenue in New York City was the grandest private residence ever built in America. Cornelius Vanderbilt, too, constructed this red brick and limestone French chateau in 1882, demolishing 2 brownstones just to make room for it. The mansion cost millions, even in 19th century dollars, featured rooms designed by the finest artists and craftsmen in the world, and stood as a monument to the Gilded Age's excess and ambition. Less than 50 years later, it was demolished. Why? Because the land was worth more than the building. Today, a commercial building stands where one of America's architectural treasures once stood. Not even a plaque marks its location. The Crystal Palace in London was an engineering marvel, a massive structure of glass and iron that housed the Great Exhibition of 1851. It showcased the wonders of the industrial age, featured 60,000 panes of glass, and pioneered the use of prefabricated modular construction that would influence architecture for generations. After the exhibition, it was relocated to a park in South London and became a beloved landmark. Then, in 1936, fire consumed it. Only the twin water towers survived, and they were demolished in 1941 out of fear they would attract German bombers. Today, the area is still called Crystal Palace, but the palace itself exists only in old photographs and architectural drawings. But perhaps the most haunting category of forgotten wonders is the ones we suspect existed but can never prove. The legendary Hanging Gardens of Babylon may have been one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, but modern archaeology has found no evidence they ever existed. Where did they rail? And have we simply failed to find them? Were they somewhere else entirely? Or were they always just a story? A dream of gardens so magnificent, they seemed to defy reality. We face the same uncertainty with countless other structures. Ancient texts describe architectural marvels that sound impossible: towers reaching into the clouds, palaces made of precious stones, temples with roofs of gold. Are these exaggerations of real structures that have since been destroyed? Or are they purely mythical? Without archaeological evidence, we simply don't know. Yet even when we find evidence, the mystery deepens rather than resolves. Consider Pumapunku in Bolivia, a large temple complex built sometime between 400 and 600 CE by the Tiwanaku Empire. The stonework defies explanation. Red sandstone and andesite blocks are cut with such extraordinary precision that they fit together without mortar, with perfectly drilled holes and edges so sharp and straight they appear machine-cut. Some blocks weigh more than 100 tons. How were they transported to this high-altitude site? What tools achieved such precision? Who possessed the engineering knowledge to create such perfect geometry? The site was already in ruins when the Spanish arrived, and the Tiwanaku people left no written records. Their sophisticated architectural knowledge simply vanished, as if an entire civilization's worth of engineering expertise evaporated overnight. The same questions haunt Sacsayhuaman in Peru, where enormous stones, some weighing more than 200 tons, are fitted together so precisely that you cannot slide a piece of paper between them. No mortars holds them together, yet they have survived earthquakes that leveled Spanish colonial buildings constructed centuries later. The Inca who built it left no written explanation of their methods. That knowledge died with them. Another architectural wonder whose secrets are as lost as the structures themselves. And then there's Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which may be the most disturbing architectural mystery of all. This temple was constructed between 9600 and 8200 BC, before writing, before metal tools, before pottery, before widespread agriculture. It predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years. The builders quarried and transported limestone pillars weighing up to 10 tons, carved them with elaborate reliefs of animals and abstract symbols, then arranged them in complex circular structures. Then, for reasons we cannot fathom, they deliberately buried the entire complex under tons of earth and walked away. The temple remained hidden for 11,000 years until its discovery in the 1990s. Think about the implications. A civilization sophisticated enough to conceive, design, and construct massive architectural projects existed more than 11,000 years ago, then vanished so completely that we had no evidence of their existence until the late 20th century. How many other civilizations achieved similar architectural mastery, only to disappear entirely? How many wonders did they build that we will never find because they've been buried, eroded, or Bilderberg. The underground cities of Cappadocia and Turkey suggest the answer might be countless thousands. The largest, Derinkuyu, descends more than 200 feet below the surface and could house 20,000 people. It features ventilation systems, wells, storage rooms, churches, schools, and even wine cellars, an entire city, manually excavated from solid rock, hidden beneath the earth. It was discovered by accident in 1963 when a man remodeling his home broke through his basement wall. For centuries, perhaps millennia, a massive underground city lay directly beneath a modern town, and no one knew it existed. If one resident hadn't stumbled upon it by chance, Derinkuyu might still be unknown. How many similar structures remain undiscovered? How many architectural wonders lie beneath our feet, beneath our cities, beneath our farms, waiting for someone to accidentally break through the right wall? Even when we know structures existed and can pinpoint their locations, we often face the reality that we will never see them again because we destroyed them ourselves, and too late realized what we'd lost. In 2013, construction crews in Belize used one of the ancient Maya pyramids in the Nomo complex as a quarry for road gravel. The pyramid dated to approximately 300 BCE, and it stood for more than 2,000 years. In a single afternoon, bulldozers reduced it to crushed stone. Despite laws protecting ancient monuments, the site had never been developed for tourism, so the workers didn't realize they were destroying an irreplaceable piece of human heritage. By the time authorities intervened, most of the pyramid was gone. This wasn't an act of war or deliberate cultural destruction. It was simple ignorance and convenience, and it happens constantly, all over the world, every single day. Ancient structures that survived for millennia are demolished because they're inconvenient, because they occupy valuable land, because no one bothered to document their significance before they vanished. The old London Bridge stood for more than 600 years. Constructed in the 12th century, it was a marvel of medieval engineering, featuring 19 arches spanning 282 meters across the Thames. Houses and shops were built directly on the bridge, creating a street in the sky over the river. It was demolished in 1832 to make way for a new, more efficient bridge. Today, no trace of the original remains, except in paintings and descriptions. The round city of Baghdad, founded in 762 CE by the Abbasid Caliph Al-Mansur, was designed as a perfect circle with the Caliph's palace at its center. This radio design influenced urban planning throughout the Islamic world and beyond. The city was destroyed and rebuilt multiple times over the centuries, and today, almost nothing of the original circular plan remains visible. The architecture that shaped an entire civilization's approach to city design has been overwritten by modern Baghdad's chaotic urban sprawl. But here's what should truly terrify you. We're still destroying these wonders, right now, in our lifetimes. The Tor Garisenda in Bologna, Italy, is one of two medieval towers that define the city's skyline. Built in the 12th century, it leans at a 4-degree angle worse than the Tower of Pisa. Engineers discovered recently that the tilt has become dangerous, and the entire structure could collapse at any moment, despite emergency stabilization efforts. There's a genuine possibility that within the next few years, this 8th-century architectural icon will simply topple over and be lost forever. Climate change threatens countless coastal and riverside monuments. Hurst Castle in Hampshire, England, built by King Henry VIII in 1544, is being undermined by rising sea levels and increasingly violent storms. The ocean is literally eating away at its foundation, causing portions of the structure to collapse into the sea. Each storm takes another piece, and engineers estimate that within a century, the entire castle could be gone. The rock art site at Moruyoga in Western Australia contains over 1 million petroglyphs, created by Aboriginal peoples over thousands of years. It's the largest rock art site on Earth. Industrial pollution from nearby mining operations is eroding the rock face, causing the carvings to fade and crumble. Scientists warn that without intervention, much of this irreplaceable cultural heritage will be destroyed within the next century. And these are just the sites we know about. The ones we're monitoring, the ones we're actively trying to save. How many others are deteriorating unseen, uncatalogued, unprotected? The scale of what we've lost becomes almost incomprehensible when you step back and try to grasp it all at once. The 7 wonders of the ancient world, only one still stands: the Great Pyramid of Giza. The other 6 are gone: the Colossus of Rhodes, the Lighthouse of Alexandria, the Temple of Artemis, the statue of Zeus at Olympia, the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, all destroyed by earthquakes, fire, or systematic dismantling for building materials. And these were the structures ancient peoples considered so extraordinary, so remarkably that they made lists of them and traveled vast distances just to witness them. If even these carefully catalogued wonders couldn't survive, what hope did the less famous structures have? The megalithic temples of Malta, built before the pyramids, are among the oldest freestanding structures on Earth. Most people have never heard of them. The Nalanda University in India was one of the world's first residential learning institutions and housed thousands of scholars from across Asia. It was deliberately destroyed by invading forces in the 12th century, and its ruins were forgotten until rediscovery in the 19th century. The Chand Bauri stepwell in India descends 100 feet through 13 levels and 3,500 steps, a mathematical and architectural marvel built to ensure water supply in a desert region. Local legends claim it was built by ghosts in a single night. That's how impossible its construction seemed to later generations, who had lost the knowledge of how such structures were made. Each of these represents not just a lost building, but lost knowledge, lost engineering techniques, lost cultural practices, lost ways of understanding and interacting with the world. When the porcelain tower fell, we didn't just lose a beautiful building. We lost the specialized ceramic techniques used to create those porcelain bricks, lost the specific architectural knowledge of how to construct such a tall structure from such fragile materials, lost the cultural context that made someone conceive of building a tower from porcelain in the first place. This is the true tragedy of forgotten architectural wonders. They're not just absent buildings. They're holes in human knowledge, gaps in our understanding of what our ancestors achieved, mysteries we can never solve because the evidence has been destroyed or buried beyond recovery. And the most disturbing thought of all, we will never know what we've lost. By definition, if a structure is truly forgotten, no records, no ruins, no legends, then we have no way of knowing it ever existed. The architectural wonders we've managed to document as lost represent only the tip of an iceberg. Beneath the surface, invisible and unknowable, lie thousands, or perhaps tens of thousands of other marvels that vanished so completely they didn't even leave ghosts behind. Some researchers estimate that we've discovered less than 1% of all significant archaeological sites worldwide. That means 99% remains buried, underwater, hidden in jungles, or built over by modern cities. Each of those undiscovered sites potentially contains architectural wonders we cannot imagine, techniques we don't understand, and perspectives on human creativity that could reshape our entire understanding of history. But with every passing year, more of those sites are destroyed before we find them. Development, climate change, looting, and simple erosion erase them from existence. The race is not just to discover what is still hidden, it is to document and preserve what we've already found before we lose that too. Standing in front of the empty cliff face at Bamiyan, or walking through the ruins of Palmyra, or studying photographs of structures that no longer exist, you confront a fundamental question. What are we? Are we the species that creates beauty, meaning, and wonder through our architecture? Or are we the species that destroys those same creations, whether through deliberate malice, negligent indifference, or simple accident? The answer, terrifyingly, is both. For every wonder we build, we destroy another. For every site we preserve, we lose 10 more. The story of human architectural achievement is simultaneously a story of human architectural destruction. We are both the builders and the demolishers, the preservers and the obliterators. And here's what keeps researchers awake at night. The rate of destruction is accelerating. War, development, climate change, and population growth are destroying archaeological sites and historic structures faster than we can study them, faster than we can document them, faster than we can even find them. We are living through the greatest loss of architectural heritage in human history, happening right now, all around those, mostly invisible to the people watching it occur. Every day, structures that survived for centuries or millennia reach the point of no return and collapse. Every day, archaeological sites that could reshape our understanding of human history are bulldozed for new construction. Every day, knowledge that survived the fall of empires, the rise and fall of religions, and the transition from ancient to modern world simply ceases to exist. The 100 forgotten architectural wonders highlighted in this documentary represent only a fraction of what we've lost, but they tell a story, a warning about the fragility of human achievement. the impermanence of even our most impressive creations, and the ease with which we can erase our own history. Perhaps the most important question is not what wonders we've lost, but what wonders we're losing right now, today, and what we might still save if we choose to act. Because unlike the ancient civilizations who built these marvels, we have the technology to document, preserve, and even reconstruct them. We have the knowledge to stabilize collapsing towers, to prevent archaeological sites from eroding, to catalog and protect cultural heritage before it vanishes. The question is, will we, or will future generations look back at our time and ask, in horror and disbelief, how we could have allowed so much beauty, so much knowledge, so much irreplaceable heritage to simply disappear on our watch? The architectural wonders we've forgotten are just in the past. They're in the present, deteriorating, waiting, either for preservation or for final destruction. And that choice, for this brief moment in history, is all we're still make. The forgotten wonders are still speaking to us, if we choose to listen. But every day, more voices fall silent. Every day, more wonders slipped from memory into myth, from myth into legend, from legend into complete oblivion. And once they're truly forgotten once, even the memory of the memory is gone. They can never be recovered. They become part of the vast, unknowable darkness of all the things humanity once achieved and then lost completely. That is the true horror of forgotten architectural wonders. Not that they're gone, but that we don't even know what we're missing.